talk with you is, and you're going to be the very first people that I'm talking to about this, is we've had another cluster again. And I'll explain what I mean by that. I'm also involved with an organization called Save Abandoned Babies Foundation. And about 5 years ago, in a 3-week window, we had a baby that was thrown into the countryside landfill. And then a week later, a baby that was brought into the emergency room in a plastic bag. And then another baby brought in a plastic bag. So 3 babies in a 3-week period. And I said, don't these girls know that this is the law? It's been the law for 5 years. And so what I became aware, as you probably are aware, is that people that read newspapers and people that watch nightly news knew. But what do the kids do? They don't read newspapers. They don't watch news. And if they watch news, they watch it on Comedy Central. And of course, this has never been a topic on Comedy Central or any of the things. It's not on Facebook or any of the social networking things. And it's not something that was texted. So since that time, this is going to be the 10th year of the Save Abandoned Babies Foundation, which is also now one of the projects of service of Exchange, and maybe this will turn out to be another one of the projects of service of Exchange, which is why I wanted to talk with you. So let's talk about narcotics. We're having a cluster this year. This is only the 2nd day of March, and already in this year, there have been 6 deaths of kids between 20 and 30. And there have been now 8 near misses, including I had another one last night from heroin. So what's happening is the kids this day is a little bit different than the drug generation, which was my generation, in which people smoked marijuana, no big deal. And then people did cocaine because, of course, it wasn't addictive, forgetting that at the beginning of the century, Coca-Cola usually was laced with cocaine. That's where it got its name, Coca-Cola, and they had to change it because it was so addictive. But no one in their right mind would ever touch heroin. Don't mess with heroin because that's just too addictive and it's too dangerous. But the kids today, fast forward to 2011, and they go, heroin. I can snort it, I can shoot it, I can do whatever. And what they're doing is they're making the same mistake that all people have been doing for about 7,000 years. And I made up a little mnemonic in the emergency room, which is, I call it an Osterism. And it's don't try and find happiness in sad, with the S standing for sex without relationship, the A for alcohol, and the D for drugs. These are 3 things that people will do, and you don't need to be a good salesman. In other words, if any of your job was to sell sex, to sell alcohol, or to sell drugs, how much effort do you really have to put in? Not much. And the bottom line on all of those things is what happens is you get a supra-physiologic release of endorphins, and people like to feel good. So that's what's going on. And also, the next thing that's going to hit us after heroin is the amphetamines. But if you look west of the Mississippi, amphetamines are a big problem. If you're in Idaho or Utah or anywhere, the emergency rooms are packed with people that are amphetamines. And you can see pictures of people that go from normal-looking people to very thin people to people that look like they're near psychotic. And they're willing, because of that, and that is a very high supraphysiologic, that's even more than cocaine. It releases so much neurotransmitter that nothing else is like it. And that's why it's so addictive to these people, because they cannot get that feeling any way other than through that. And they will give up their job, their wife, their children, they'll go to jail. It doesn't matter what happens, they want to have that fix. So I thought that we need to talk with the community with the number of heroin deaths that are going on. And we need to do something about this because we're losing our kids between 20 and 30. They're dying. They're not just getting addicted, we're having deaths. And what you need to do, and this actually is better known to women because they deal with children more, is we need to redirect. Any mother that has a child that's a little bit out of line knows that what she has to do is she has to redirect their attention. Or if she has a husband that's not doing what he supposedly supposed to do, in other words, I'm supposed to do anything that my wife allows me to do, he gets redirected to doing the correct behavior. So what are the correct behaviors? Well, the correct behaviors are things like challenging your talents. And everybody has a God-given talent. And it doesn't matter what it is. Maybe your talent is art, maybe your talent is music, maybe your talent is speaking. I happen to have that because I was totally amazed that, you know what the #1 phobia is in America?
Public speaking.
Public speaking. That was news to me. I had been speaking when I was in grade school. They actually gave me an award for declamation. So it's always been easy to me, but it's very, very difficult for most people to come in front of people. And actually, a talent can be something that you might consider negative. Have you ever met somebody who was the laziest guy that you ever met, and he knew exactly how much effort and work to put through to just get the job done and to do it with the least amount of cost and with no effort? So that's kind of a negative thing, right? Well, guess what? You know what you call him? Call him an efficiency expert. Because if America's going to pay $15 an hour, and if some other place is going to pay 15 cents an hour, that guy is critical for America to stay in the job market by doing efficiency. In fact, that has happened. The big story in Atlanta was when Southwestern Bell had given their phone contract to Mexico, and somebody came up that was like this, and they actually rebuilt the plant in Atlanta, and they were able to make the new, slimline phones and phones that everybody wanted. And even though they paid the people union wages and it was a lot more than Mexico, their efficiency was such that it only took a couple people. There weren't as many jobs as there were before, but maybe just 5 people ran the assembly line that maybe 100 people down in Mexico, so 100 times their salary was actually cheaper in America. So these are the talents that people have. So that's one of the things that we should need to do to redirect. You heard about the second thing in the last campaign, and it's hope. And just think about, just during our lifetime, how good you feel about hope. Think about what happened in the Soviet Union in 1992, the day after the Soviet Union fell. Was there a better economy that day? No. Did people have any more money that day? No. Was there any more food, any more stores, any more anything? What did people have? Hope. What's going on in Egypt right now, 2 weeks ago? Is there any more of anything? No. What have they got? They've got hope. So that's another redirection. So challenge your talents was the first one. Hope is the second one. The next thing is religiosity, which sometimes people think is controversial. But the fact remains that people that believe in God have a better immune system, have better blood pressure, have better health, have a better mood. So if you believe in God, all those things are positive. Now, if you're absolutely positively sure that there is no God, and you would delude yourself into thinking there was, because if this is all there is, wouldn't you want to have the best health you could possibly have and the best immune system? So, believing in a God that didn't exist, you would end up with winning. So whether you either want to be a God believer or a non-God believer, if you live your life as if you were spiritual and living with God, you would end up with better health. The next thing is service. There are a lot of service clubs. There's Rotary, there's Lions, there's Knights of Columbus, there's Exchange Club, there's the Condell Volunteers, the Vista Volunteers, there's volunteers over at Good Shepherd, there's volunteers down at Lake Forest, there's volunteers at every church that's around here. And why do people do that? Because when you focus on other people instead of yourself, you feel better. So this is one of the other things we can do. Then you need to train your mind, body, and spirit. That's another redirection. So some of these heroin programs that are throughout America involve some of these things like challenging your talents, maybe art, and they also involve exercise because your body releases endorphins when you exercise. In fact, when someone comes into my emergency room with a sprained ankle, one of the things, when can I go back and exercise? Because they actually go into a endorphin deficit because they can't exercise. Or meditating. Meditating is when you just kind of close your eyes and you have quiet and nothingness happens. And I think that this is interesting because this goes back to most of the major religions. Like, for example, does anybody know what the Romans found in the temple in Israel when they conquered Israel? They went into the temple and the priests were still doing their services. They went into the Holy of Holies. What did they find in that room? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. There was nothing there. So we can be communal with the Spirit, I personally believe, and you can decide for yourself how you want to do it. Because that's what meditation is. You know,